Welcome back to the 21 Convention. I hope everybody had an awesome night last night. I'm really excited to announce our first speaker of the day today. He's going to be talking about our favorite subject, money. He has worked for 3 of the top 5 asset management firms in the country. He's currently managing around $300 million in assets for one of the firms, and he's a level 3 CFA. I do have to mention, though, that everything he's about to say are his opinions. They have nothing to do with the firms he works for. Everything he's saying is based on his life experiences and everything he's been through. I'd like to welcome to the stage Gary Korolev.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
So, the reason I chose to speak about money today is because it's more important to each individual's life. Even if you're not an investor, you don't really care about stocks and bonds, you're still affected by money. Without money, you really can't do much in the society we have right now. And of course, everybody watches the news and you see what's going on as far as the bailouts and all the problems in Greece and the pigs countries, as far as Spain and Portugal and Ireland. And even the problems here with the housing, with the crash that we had a few years back, and the crash we had in 2000, the crash that we had in '87, which wasn't as big. And people are really trying to figure out where is all this going into the future. There's a lot more uncertainty the longer we go, and the longer we continue on. And so really what I want everybody to take away from the speech today is an understanding of what money really is and why it is that a very few people, very powerful people, very well-connected people can print money and can decide the price of money. And really what you can do to protect yourself in the future from the dangers that are likely to, and from the events that are likely to take place in the future based on what is happening right now. But really to understand what has happened and what will happen in the future, to really make your own deductions and make your own hypotheses and theories about what's going to happen and act on it and prepare yourself. You should understand where money came from and how it really works, because it seems like it's really basic, but the fundamentals of it are really simple, and they should be. And when you watch TV, a lot of times you'll see that they make it sound really complicated. You see Ben Bernanke on TV, he's got a 1600 on his SATs, and he's this really intelligent guy, and what do I know about money if that's a guy that really understands money? And it's really not like that. That's what they want you to think. Money is really supposed to be simple. And if we look throughout history, if we look at how money began, right? First, there was no medium of exchange. First, there was just barter, of course. People started off as hunters and gatherers, where there was no trade at all. Then, as people settled, they began understanding that they need something. If you grow, let's say, wheat, and you need a plow, well, you want to exchange your wheat for the plow. Well, what if the plow maker doesn't want your wheat? Well, then you have to go find something that the plow maker really needs. And then exchange your wheat for that, and then bring the plow maker what he really wants. So it's an inconvenient system. Now, over time, people started to understand that there are a few goods that everybody always covets and that everybody can hold on to. They're easily transportable, and they will last a very long time. And people don't throw them away, so they have intrinsic value. And they started understanding that they can exchange this with anyone because anyone will hold on to it, and they'll understand this to be exchangeable with everybody else. And it's became a universal medium of exchange. And throughout history, of course, you know about gold, that it's been money for about 6,000 years. But there were a few other goods that were exchanged besides, that were used as money and exchanged besides gold. Of course, there was silver, there was also salt tablets, there was also seashells, there was also pelts in Native American cultures, there were dried yams in some African cultures. So all these goods had a few fundamental strengths and why they were used, and a few fundamental characteristics as why they were used as money. Again, they're all very easily transportable. Everybody that you exchanged with could use them even if they didn't want to exchange them. So you could eat the yams, you could use the salt to preserve your food and to flavor your food. You could use the gold for jewelry. You could use the pelts to make some kind of an outfit. So as time went on, gradually gold kind of started to dominate money and what money really is. And the reason that happened is really it outlasted all other. It's much more easy to transport gold in large quantities of value. So you could bring a few coins and you could buy a house, for instance, with that. Whereas a lot of these other goods, again, they weren't as scarce. So gold really was the most scarce, the most beautiful, and it's the longest lasting. So it will last forever. If you put it into the ground, a piece of gold, a coin will last 1,000,000 years. You can dig it up. It looks exactly the same as it did before. And the reason for that is, and gold doesn't bind with any other metal, and it doesn't bind with any other element. So then we had pretty much a worldwide gold standard for thousands of years. Well, something started happening earlier than that, in the medieval times in England, where when people needed to get coins made for exchange, or they needed to have jewelry made, so they would go to a goldsmith. And that goldsmith would give them a receipt saying, I owe you this much gold. And people started noticing that it's almost easier to carry this receipt around, and it's a little bit safer to carry this receipt around, and they could exchange it with other people in the community, because this receipt, this certificate, showed other people in the community that, oh, well, I know this goldsmith, and I know that if I bring the certificate back, they'll give me the gold that he's storing for you. So at this point, the goldsmith started realizing that he's also more of a custodian, a place where you can store gold and just keep it there for safety. Now, over time, the goldsmith also started realizing something else, that once people bring their gold in, they really leave it there for quite a long time, and they don't actually redeem it very often. So they'll leave it there for very long periods of time because they saw nobody's robbing the goldsmith, because it's a very safe place in the community. So they started thinking, how do I make a little bit more money? And they started understanding that if they take most of it, about 90% of that gold, and if they loan it out, they can make an interest on that gold that they're loaning out, while at the same time, the person that's holding that certificate does not know that the gold's being loaned out. And the person that has a certificate is likely not going to come back and try to redeem all of their gold. They'll probably, on average, redeem about 10%. And if they do redeem all of their gold, the other certificate holders won't redeem their gold at the same time. So this was the beginning of fractional reserve banking. And you've probably heard this term before. It's where a bank never has all the money that you give it to hold, to custody. They only have about 10% of it. Now you can see where this is a very profitable business for the goldsmith. And you can see where it's really not an honest business. And it's the only industry, banking, it was where this is even allowed. And we can get into why that is later. So over time, also, what these goldsmiths would do is they loan other people's gold out for an interest, which they get. And if that person could not pay back that loan with real gold, they would just take over whatever property they purchased with that gold. And so you could see where now they were not goldsmiths but bankers. They became very wealthy doing this. So things went on like this for a few centuries, and then we get to the invention of modern central banking, which was at the end of the 17th century in England. Actually, it really began in the Netherlands, but it really spread and it was made popular by the English central bank. So why would this be centralized? Why would some of the bankers give up some of the control to produce somewhat of a cartel or an agreement between all the other bankers in the country? Well, the reason is